All right, welcome everyone to Recovery Unplugged Live. What's up, Amy?
Got a lot to say.
We have Jessica McHugh here first. We're going to interview her in just a minute.
That's Jessica McHugh. She's a brilliant author and poet.
And then, so you have a lot of letters to Daniel announcements today?
Yes, I signed contracts at Parables TV, which is one of the streaming contracts. Signed the contract at Real Women's Network, which is one of the streaming contracts. And I can make an announcement. We have very limited theatrical distribution in Las Vegas at the Galaxy Theater.
Nice. How limited?
I think there'll be multiple screenings of it, but it will only be on one screen.
Okay, that's theatrical release.
Yep.
That's awesome. That is great stuff.
And I finished the first draft of the Letters to Daniel play that we're doing an off-Broadway production in tandem with AOF.
Mm-hmm.
And Missy currently has it, so she can put her touches on it.
Okay.
And so Recovery Unplugged is a go for the talk show pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I've reached out to Jeffrey Reddick to be my guest if he responds. I don't know if he'll be busy though, because if things are opening up at that time, he may be directing. But we do have Cryselle Almeida, who was on The Big Bang and Sex and the City and Grey's Anatomy. So we got a nice superstar there. And we have Annabelle Monroe, who we've had on this show, who is an independent is like an indie powerhouse. She does everything.
Mm-hmm.
And on The Guardian, the film, there's an AOFer I work on who has offered to let me use his house, his land. There's a cemetery and a church for filming.
Wow.
And he would be the DP.
That's next year, correct?
Yeah, that would be either fall of next year or spring of 2022.
Okay. Well, that gives us some time.
Yes.
It'll probably be here before we know it.
And I think that's about it. Other than I'm obsessed with writing the Guardian script now. So
what was most exciting to you of your announcements? They're all pretty good.
Yeah, they're all pretty awesome. The theatrical distribution one.
Yeah. Okay. Are you gonna go to Vegas like in and out?
Also, yeah. Well, I don't know if I have to quarantine or not. But we'll deal with that when it comes up. The Las Vegas Film Critics Society has agreed to review the movie and cover it like on an interview and a review on the ABC affiliate down there, and print and radio.
That's awesome. That's super cool. You look humbled.
I am.
But
I am. As much as COVID destroyed my festival run, it opened up that possibility. If Hollywood had been fully up and running, we wouldn't have had that opportunity.
Gotcha. Okay. So are you ready to interview Jessica?
Is she ready to be interviewed?
I was just going to say, that was my next question is, Jessica, are you ready to be interviewed?
I don't know if I can live up to that, though, so.
People have called this Jerry Springer light or Maury without the test, the DNA test. So
you're not going to hear you are not the father. Or
I'm pretty sure I am the father.
That's what I tell my son all the time. I am the father. You will listen.
I am all fathers.
All right, well, let's watch the trailer. It's about 2.5 minutes, and we'll be back with when Amy's going to interview Jessica.
Dear Daniel Craig, Life did not always look like this. This marked a moment of triumph, a way of crushing an abysmal past and daring those with a stereotypical view of those with mental illness to challenge me on any front. To many, this was just a documentary. For me and Missy, this was our life.
It's like my skin is coming off. And my thoughts, they're racing so fast. I can't keep up.
I'm suffering too, you know. You're not the only one.
It's like my mind is coming apart and I can't get it to come together.
I think it's more than just that. Amy's been having a really hard time lately. She goes on these crying jags. She explodes without warning. She's so angry and so paranoid these days. She's not the happy Amy that I remember from Kentucky.
She thinks you're manic depressive. I, however, do not. I think this is something you've been obsessing on. I believe that it's all in your head.
We're gonna get you some help. I'll be okay. You do have a diagnosis. You have rapid cycling manic depression.
Dear Daniel Craig, bipolar disorder and those that saw it as contagious sought to pull me under, snap me in half, break me down. Even those well-intentioned do-gooders who see therapy and medication as bad and wrong, who see mentally ill individuals as hapless and hopeless, they're wrong. I found hope in your work. A comrade in Missy, my rock when no one else understood. You two are my twin lights when this disease threatened to take me down. And treatment was what got me through. Thank you, Daniel, for your talent and your work. Thank you for everything. Sincerely, Amy McCorkle.
Tonight we have an awesome guest, badass author and poet extraordinaire Jessica McHugh. I believe we met in 2015 at Imaginarium. I was introduced to you by way of Barbara Ehrentrue after you both had a reading for what shall we call a light crowd.
Yeah.
Why don't we dive right on in and you tell us what drew you to a literary career?
I think I just was always a very creative child. I grew up with two older brothers, so I spent a lot of time in my own little world, kind of doing I was obsessed with like The Last Unicorn, so I was always like playing unicorn and pretending I lived in a fantasy world. So I would always write a bunch, but I also read a lot of horror. So when I was a kid, I wrote a lot of really gory stories and wrote a lot of poetry. It's just always been a really huge part of my life. I mean, I just can't remember a time when I wasn't a storyteller.
Okay. You are also quite vocal where it comes to women's rights, the double standards out there for men and women. And when someone is unprofessional, you call them out on it. What compels you to do this and why?
I guess I'm just tired of not saying things. I think I spent a long time believing or thinking that being a woman was a certain thing and I had to act a certain way to be respected but also to be considered cool and likable. And also I just got really tired of it. But I think when you hit a certain age also, like your fucks kind of fly out the window. Like you have none left to give. So I basically was just kind of tired of being walked over and being demeaned and belittled and just seen as either an object or someone that could be easily brushed aside. And it's weird because like I never really wrote that way, but you know, a lot of times when we write, you know, we're really speaking with our authentic voice and not even knowing it. And so it's almost like writing a bunch of strong characters almost. So it was like, hey, I'm not, you know, in my real life, not being as strong as a lot of these characters I'm writing. And, you know, just kind of, I learned something from them a little bit. I don't know, it sounds cheesy.
No, that's okay. You are very active on Twitter. Unlike a lot of angry people who just spew venom, you have something to say. Whereas I focus on mental health, you are sharp across the board politically. Your work and your very feminist view seem to intersect, and you create works of genius. What book or poem or poems are you most proud of, and why?
I mean, I'm really, really proud of my most recent release, A Complex Accidental Life, which is my Blackout poetry collection that uses the text from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That's the source material. And then I kind of blacked things out and kind of made intricate designs to find and found poems within them. And it was just, I didn't expect for it to happen. I was just making Blackout poetry from Frankenstein, and when I was approached by Jacob Haddon of Apocrypha, who ended up publishing the book, he was like, hey, you want to put any of these together? And when we did that and I kind of lined them all up and read it, it just turned out to be this beautiful, like really powerful feminist message, but also just really talking about women in horror, especially talking about Mary Shelley, but also me. I felt like so much of the story was a story of women breaking free from the preconceived notions of what women are supposed to be.
Okay. I think my favorite tweet of yours involved how the pandemic affected your household at one point. On the one hand, your husband lost his job, but conversely, your book sales allowed you to support the family. Not many people can say that. What do you think allowed you to do that?
Amazingly, it was I was selling a lot of Blackout poetry. A lot of people were getting commissions from me, and that really boosted. You'd think it wouldn't make a big dent in your financial situation, but creating all these commission pieces for people really allowed my family to keep rolling and take a lot of the stress off. Now, I mean, there was a lot of stress because I love to make art. So when you feel like you have to make art, like just to survive, like it can get a little, it can wear on you. It can wear on you. It can wear on your relationship. It can wear on everybody who interacts with you. I've been a full-time writer before, but we were a 2-income family, so it wasn't as stressful. But once we got through it and the stress was over, and he got a job, and I could go back to it being a more lighthearted. I definitely liked that a little bit better.
Yes. And finally, what are you working on now that we can anticipate seeing in the future?
Well, I have 2 books coming out next year from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing. One of them is a new version of a book I had previously published called Rabbits in the Garden. And it's about a girl who was accused of murder in the late 1950s and incarcerated in Taunton Hospital in Massachusetts. And so that's been out for several years, but we're going to get a new version, just kind of polish it up a little bit. And that's going to be in the summer of 2021. And then in Thanksgiving, we're getting the long anticipated sequel, which I've been working on for so long. So it's finally coming out. Hares in the Hedgerow, that takes place 15 years after Rabbits in the Garden in 1975 in the Bay Area, California. And it's wacky. Not like fun wacky, like straight up 70s cult wacky. So it's a lot of fun.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about mental health. Have you ever been directly or indirectly affected by mental illness?
Yeah, absolutely. I personally have depression and anxiety, which has gotten better over the years. But in 2015, when I was suffering through grief, like I started having really bad panic attacks that almost made it impossible for me to write. My hands would shake so bad that I couldn't hold a pen. So I was able to work through that with medication, and now I'm using medical marijuana solely for it, so I've gotten worked through it a lot. But also I have addiction in my family. My brother is a recovering heroin addict for many, many years, and definitely affected me and my family life a lot. And has made relationships a little dicey over to say the least.
Okay. How has your art affected your healing process?
In huge ways. I'm not sure I would be where I am personally in my journey if it wasn't for art. I know I focused a lot on my grief process and working my way through panic attacks by writing flash fiction, things I could focus on little bit at a time. Getting out a lot of those like emotions in short spurts. And then I wrote an entire book about my brother's addictions. So there was that.
Yes.
Yeah, I have actually the Green Kangaroos. It came out from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and this is the new edition that came out last year. And it's I got the title The Green Kangaroos because growing up, well, my brother, who's the recovering addict, he's the middle child, and we had this book growing up by Judy Blume called The One in the Middle is the Green Kangaroo.
Yeah.
And, the character, though a much more horrible person than my brother, thank goodness. Yes. He's the middle child as well, so it's a lot about addiction and middle child syndrome. So.
Well, speaking of writing therapeutically, I've done Letters to Daniel. This is the making of Letters to Daniel, the behind the scenes look at what it takes to make a passion project. And it gets you introduced. This book comes out it came out in May, and I couldn't do any signings, go to any conventions. Yeah. It was like, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot promote this book. But I think I sold 10 to 15 copies. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of 5 or 6 people bought the print book, and I know that never happens among my readers. And then about 8 people bought the ebook. So
that's awesome. Yeah, same. The poetry book came out the end of June, so it's like I didn't get to, show off my girl.
You just, yeah, I feel you. Okay, do you find managing conventions and public places and such harder because of your anxiety and depression?
Yeah. I tend to that's where I tend to start my convention day at the bar. That
helps. Yeah.
But then there's a fine line, of course. It's I honestly haven't done many conventions since my diagnosis, but that has a lot to do with the cost of travel as well. but I still I love doing readings. I mean, I always feel like I'm going to puke my guts out, and
I'm a terrible
sweat,
reader.
shaking, all that kind of stuff. But the trade-off when you're finished is that like adrenaline.
Yeah, it's like you get instant feedback.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I try to always remind myself of. And I know my husband does that too, and he's just like, just think, once it's over,
you'll feel like on top of the world.
yeah, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna be like, why was I so scared? And he's always right. But you still can't stop yourself. You know that it just takes over the anxiety, but you just gotta throw yourself out there, I guess.
Okay. When you see someone in distress, do you find your experiences with your mental illness help you to empathize with them and help them?
Yeah, I think so. Also because I think I recognize signs of someone who's, in distress the way that I get in distress. And it's fine because like I probably wouldn't have recognized it before or been able to identify because, I was the last one in my family for whom these symptoms appeared. My parents and both my brothers have been on medication for various things for years. And it just took this big a death to unlock all this stuff in me, basically, to open up my genetics and be like, hey, by the way, you thought you were getting no, honey. So I'm very sympathetic to it now, and I hopefully that I can help. Hopefully I don't make it worse. No, when I try to help someone.
Have you ever been discriminated against or stigmatized because of your mental health?
I don't think so. I think that there's probably I think that there were things in my childhood that were showing that I had like panic attacks, and I didn't know they were panic attacks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of, I wouldn't call it discriminated against, but I think it was brushed aside. But I didn't know what it was either.
It's stigma.
Okay. Yeah.
Stigma. It's the way people. Okay, so stigma the way I've learned it is it can either mean it's a discriminatory practice, or stigma is people not knowing, not understanding, and maybe dismissing you out of hand, not believing you, that kind of thing.
I think there were a lot of times when I was kind of dismissed as being dramatic or something like that, when I was actually like experiencing a panic attack and extreme anxiety. Because sometimes I would just get so like tight and stuff. The only way I could let it out was just to scream, no matter where I was. Like, it was the only way. And then like I would get in trouble because you're not just supposed to scream of, Kmart. So
okay. Yeah. Okay, so now let's have a little fun.
Okay.
All these serious questions. If your life were a movie, what would the title be?
She drowned in her champagne glass.
That's great. If you could cast anyone in the known cinematic universe, who would you cast to play you in that movie?
Oh my gosh. What's her name? Kirsten. The woman who played Sally on Third Rock from the Sun. Kirsten Johnson.
Oh, I love her. She's Tammy on Mom now.
Oh, okay.
She's like, she used to be in prison, and she's an alcoholic, recovering alcoholic. And oh my God, she's hilarious.
I love her.
Okay. If you weren't a writer by profession, what profession would you have gone into?
I mean, I love to dance and I love to sing. I always wanted to be on Broadway, but always knew I was too lazy. I I love singing and dancing, probably, dancing especially, right next to writing. I just love to dance.
Okay. What is your greatest dream where your personal and professional lives are concerned?
Oh my God. Oh, health insurance.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, right. If you could join the Writers Guild, you'd have you'd have health insurance.
dental, something.
Okay.
No, I'd love to be some kind of like real financial stability, so I could take care of some things.
Yes. Okay. And lastly, what advice can you give other artists out there struggling with mental illness and are trying to break through to mainstream success?
I think it's really important to, first of all, define what success means to you, because it doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. And if it feels like a certain thing isn't working, like you're struggling, why is this so hard for me? Why does it seem so much easier for everybody else? Like just keep trying different things within creative fields, because the thing that you're trying might not be the exact avenue for you. I mean, I know when I started doing Blackout poetry, I had no idea that was going to be a thing that, one, I enjoyed, and two, would be good at. And it's become one of my biggest sources of creative income. So I never knew. So like just keep stretching and exploring and finding things that, to use a kind of overused expression, maybe spark joy. Because I mean, it really is, it's important. It's not supposed to be, I mean, writing is hard, creating is hard, but it should be fun for you.
If it's not fun, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Or you're not doing the right thing.
You're right.
You haven't found it yet. So just keep looking, and you'll find something. If you enjoy creating, you'll find the thing that works for you.
Okay, well, that's my last question, John. You have any questions for
Boom!
her?
Here I am. What's Blackout poetry? I'm naive in all things creative.
Blackout poetry?
Yeah.
It's basically, let me actually have the book here. So these are all pages from Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
And so you basically just find a poem hidden within the text and colored everything else. And sometimes it becomes a piece of art itself because it embodies kind of the poem a little bit. So
that's super cool. Okay.
Yeah, and this cover was done by Lynn Hansen, and it's gorgeous.
It is a good cover.
I love it so much. I need it like wallpapered.
Yeah, no, I appreciated the candor, and I appreciated the discussion about not only some of the things that you struggle with, but how you use creativity to overcome that, and your brother as well, and kind of that.
Oh, thank you.
But the other one was, one of my favorite movies in the entire world is The Last Unicorn.
Yeah,
I have it's one of my wife's favorites too. I have a VHS copy in the hopes that I can either find a thrift store VCR or I can just figure out how to get it onto digital download. But
they have a Blu-ray of it. They have a special edition 25th anniversary Blu-ray. So
that's awesome. I used to watch that movie all the time. Amy, did you ever watch that movie?
Carla, a friend of mine, forced me to watch it.
What are you talking about? Force you? You sound like you're so down.
I didn't want to watch it.
Did you like it after you did?
It was okay.
Okay.
You were traumatized by the booby tree, weren't you?
Look, this is what I think. It was
What have you done?
Oh my God. Where have you been?
I think it's well done. It's just that I didn't want to watch it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't open to seeing how wonderful it probably could be. But I can understand why people fall in love with it. It's not like I think it's a bad.
I've every piece of Blackout poetry I've made from The Last Unicorn sells like that because
Wow.
people love The Last Unicorn.
Oh yeah, it's a classic.
So good.
I have seen the 3 movies that I remember seeing in the theater were The Last Unicorn, Return of the Jedi, and Rocky IV.
Wow.
Man,
Isn't
which
that
one
crazy?
of these is like which one of these is not like the other?
Right.
Yeah,
I
I
actually
I love Return of the Jedi, but I know it's the weakest of those 3 movies. So
that's my. Well, I like A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, and then the other one, Empire Strikes Back. But
Empire's probably the best.
everyone likes that one. I'm not a
I
fan.
think
I like Return of the Jedi.
I love the Ewoks. I love the cinematography. I love the places that they chose to film it.
Yeah.
Well, I loved when I saw Return of the Jedi at the theater. I
Mhm.
saw Empire Strikes Back at the drive-in theater.
Ooh.
Yeah, in a Pinto, in the hatchback of a Pinto, laid
How
out.
could you even see the screen? Oh, laid out. Okay, I got you. I was like, how could you even see
When
the
my
screen
parents
from
took
back there?
us, and it was like a Pinto, and the movie in Top Secret where they barely tap the bumper and it just explodes. Yeah,
Mhm.
that car.
Did you have one of the? What was it through the radio, or did you get one of those speakers that you had to put in your car?
It was the speaker at
Yeah,
that, because I was only at that time. I was only 5, maybe.
Right.
I was 4 or 5, and I remember.
And that's where every car you parked and you rolled down your window and the speaker was there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the drive-in that I went to, it was the radio.
The radio. Those are the ones I remember.
Radio.
We didn't go. I mean, we went to the theater. Obviously, we didn't go to the drive-in. That's cool, though. I miss drive-ins. They need to bring them back, especially during all this COVID crap. You'd think that people would make a killing.
They are like the ones out in LA. They're showing they show a lot of they're showing independent films, and they're getting first run at these drive-in theaters. And an independent horror movie is on track to be the biggest moneymaker of the year.
Holy crap.
Well, there hasn't been.
There hasn't been anything.
There hasn't been anything.
Right, I know.
Oh, and I think we have to address something about Chadwick Boseman. I think we should say something about that.
Fuck cancer. Can we say that?
Yeah, we can say that. Fuck cancer.
Yeah, that is a tragedy. I saw your post. I really like your post about who should be the lead in the next Black Panther. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't that be the way it was? She's next in line to the throne. It only makes sense if you go through the trouble of getting someone else. I mean, I think it should be her. And I like whoever did the mock-up of that poster. It said her brother's keeper on it. That was a very nice tribute. I could not believe it. I was laying in bed and I was looking at my Facebook feed, and Brandon posted Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther star, dies at 43. Mm-hmm. And I know colon cancer is nasty, 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 because my uncle had it and it killed him, and he was in his 50s. So
my father has colorectal cancer.
One of my best friends from college died from it as well. He got it real young. He got it at like 36 or something like that.
Yeah.
What about? I just love that he dealt with it privately with his family.
Yeah. Oh my God! And he had so much grace the way he carried himself, and he was. I mean, it just, what I remember him, what I thought when I saw Black Panther, when him and Michael B. Jordan were playing opposite each other. I think what's funny is I'm thinking, hey, both of these actors played Reggie on All My Children way back in the day. They played the same character. And I thought that was so great, but it makes me sad whenever.
That's because white producers like typecasting.
Yeah,
they don't care. They're just like, oh, we'll just get them in there.
Well, the nice thing is you could tell both actors had a future. They transit like what a lot of actors come through the soaps, and you can tell which ones are gonna make that leap if they take it.
Yeah,
and I just think it's God. It
Well,
was
I
awful.
think Boseman's finest performance was in Draft Day and not Black Panther. That's the Cleveland Browns tribute movie that was put together in a matter of 2 months, I think, that starred Gavin Costner. It was actually awful.
Hey, he
But
was in
whatever.
Marshall.
No, but he was good.
played. Yeah, he played Thurgood Marshall, Jackie Robinson, James
That
Brown.
Jackie Robinson movie is is a real good movie too. He killed it.
Yeah,
and you have one more announcement too, don't you?
yes. Oh, Indie Gathering nominations are coming in the email tonight, and
Amy, would you like to give everybody a preview of how you're going to be furiously refreshing your inbox? Oh, look, she's doing it now, everyone.
Well, it's just Pinterest. It's just a Pinterest email.
I can't do Pinterest.
I have gotten into watching reaction videos of those kids, those twin teenagers, listening to like Queen for the first time or Jolene for the first. They are so cute. I love watching them listening to Phil Collins in the Air Tonight when the drum solo.
Like, never heard of this one before. Never anybody. Never, like the most famous songs in the entire world. Well, what's this about? I had no idea this even existed.
and
they always love it.
You know what? They watched Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You," and he goes like, right? They showed her, and when they cut to her sitting in the chair and singing, now there I can tell she was pregnant, right? But she was just in the early stages. She was just kind of fool her in the face. And he goes, hey, she's skinny. I thought she was fat. I'd never seen her before.
Who are they thinking about? That's what's funny is like, who are you thinking about when you say something like that?
But like Dolly Parton, they listened to Joe. The first one of theirs I saw was when they listened to Jolene. And she actually gave them a shout out on her Twitter because she saw it. But there's goodness, like, right? I don't know. I have been refreshing. My mom said, thank God they're announcing tonight because you've been on edge. And yeah, when I called the pharmacy to get syringes for my insulin, and they said, well, what do they look like? What kind of syringes are they? And I'm like, I've used them one time. They said, what color is the box? I said, it was blue. They go, well, all Walgreens boxes are blue. I said, then why did you ask me what color the box was? She was stupid. And then I called later in the evening and they go, oh yeah, we can do that. And she seemed to have, like, I just was like, thank God. I was like, it was only $20 for the syringes. So,
all right, Amy, we got to stop the live show before you do any more incriminating. Say anything else incriminating. Who's on next Monday?
I don't know, but I think I'm going to try to. Have we decided when we're doing the award announcements?
You know what? We can't do next Monday.
Why? Browns playing?
No,
Labor Day.
I will not.
No,
I won't be here. I will be in New York, and I cannot stream where I will be.
Okay. No, and also it's Labor Day.
It is Labor Day.
It is Labor Day.
Everyone enjoy Labor Day. We'll be back the Monday after that, hopefully with a new shiny guest.
Okay. Well, how about this? The Monday after Labor Day, I will announce the award winners and runners-up for the Conquering Disabilities with Film Festival, and I have Dell on, and I get a couple. And
so,
and
like
maybe
the 14th, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That day. Okay. I like it.
So start promoting a week out. Try to make it a big show.
Okay. Jessica, good to meet you. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It wasn't that bad, was it?
Jessica, you should look. AOF, and you hear me saying these things that may sound foreign to you, and Conquering Disabilities with Film, they accept poetry and prose, and they also accept books, published
Oh,
books.
awesome.
So you could submit the Blackout poetry book to both festivals.
Oh, awesome. That
And
sounds great.
if you enter mine, it's filmfreeway.com/conquering disabilities film fest. And if you enter AOF and Hollywood Dreams, you want to go to noriskfeefest.com. There you can submit it, and they will not charge you a submission fee unless they accept it for competition.
Awesome. Thanks. Sounds good.
Timmy Joe, thanks for your upvote. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.